Hi, and welcome to Diversity in the Community. I am your host, Teresa Harris. I am humbled today to have with me a very special person, Susan Amelian, who I've admired for many years. And also I have Adrian Dowdy, right?
Yes.
I got that right. Okay. And I'm so excited to have them with me today. Susan Amelian of West Hartford, Connecticut, is an attorney, author, and motivational speaker who has worked to end violence against women for the last 40 years. Susan is the author of a new book, Entering the Thriver Zone, a 7-step guide to thriving after abuse. It is currently available on her website, and this is going to be at the bottom of the screen, www.thriverzone.com. Her book is about the work she has done since 2001 with women who have experienced abuse. It has been described as life-changing and as a component for women recovering from abuse that have been virtually overlooked. And I also have with me today a woman that loves to talk. I'm excited to have her here, and I met her through Susan, actually. And her name is Adrian Dowdy, right? I'm pronouncing that right.
Thank you.
Adrian is also from West Hartford and has been a participant in Susan's workshops since, she also participated in Susan's monthly follow-up sessions and weekend retreats. And ladies, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. You just don't know how happy. I've been trying to get you here for a long time, Susan.
It's true. And Teresa never gives up.
No, I don't. So I finally got her here. And so I have a few questions for you ladies.
Okay.
And I'm so excited because I know that this program is going to go out, is going to touch many women, and to let women know that there is help out there, and a lot of the things that you do for women, it doesn't even cost them because you're always out rallying to get funds to help women. So I'm just so, like I said, I'm so excited to have you here. So proud. So I'm going to ask a few questions. So my first question for you, Susan, how did you come to work with women that you have written about in your new book?
Well, it goes back about 15 years, but as you said in my introduction, that I have been doing this work for a long time.
Right.
Back in college into law school, I had helped to found a sexual assault crisis center back when I was actually before law school. And then when I left law school, I went to work for a legal aid program back in Michigan, where I'm from, helping women who were getting divorced who had come through abuse. And then I came here to Connecticut to work for a women's public interest law firm doing sexual harassment work. And then I went to work for government for about 11 years doing work in the governor's budget agency and also at DCF, Department of Children and Families. So I had been doing all this work that I didn't really have any background in doing. It was never something that happened to me when I was younger or anybody in my family, for that matter, that I knew of. And then in 1999, in October of 1999, my niece Maggie was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. And back in Michigan, and suddenly it came to me that this could happen to anybody, anytime, and that Maggie was one of these great kids, just really very, very smart. She was in college. She was beautiful. She was talented. She was musical. And she was with this young man, her boyfriend, for just a short period of time. She broke up with him. He had never physically hurt her or assaulted her in any way, never physically threatened her, and she didn't know he had a gun. So that night that she went to see him for the one more time, I think to tell him to leave her alone, because he was stalking her on this college campus, a small college out in Michigan, he killed her, then he killed himself. So that was just like, first of all, this could happen to my family. And it was just this idea that Maggie really didn't get it. And not that she didn't understand abuse, but I think it was because she didn't think she was physically in danger by him, with him. She still trusted him as she did in the past. So it really sort of struck me as I was dealing with this, which was so awful and such an impact on our family, that the moment of her death was really the moment that she realized she was being abused, and she didn't have a chance to move on. So if I couldn't give Maggie that chance, then I decided I wanted to give other women that chance, and sort of in her honor. So I really didn't know what that meant. I sort of had this
Right.
and my niece was always, one of the things she wanted to be a lawyer too. She'd always say to me, Aunt Susan, that's so unfair. We have to do something about it. So I thought, well, I've got to do something about this. So I have been a writer all my life. I'd done a lot of writing retreats and different programs. And so I started thinking, well, I could do a workshop. I could put together a workshop that would help women to move on after abuse. And so I did, and I called it the My Avenging Angel Workshops, because I realized that Maggie, that he killed her and killed himself. There was no revenge. I didn't know who to revenge. He was gone, which was in some way a gift to us, although it was a horrible thing that he also killed himself. Yeah. But I didn't have to go through the criminal trial and all that stuff. So a lot of my energy could be moved in a different direction.
Right.
And so I got this quote, living well is the best revenge. And I really felt that's what I wanted to do, not only for myself, but for a lot of other women. And that we really need to find a space where we can take that energy that feels so, we have to get back, we have to do something here, and really put it into our own life. So I started on my own journey, being a secondary victim of a crime, which I survived. And now I decided, I got this word, I don't even know how I got it. People ask me this all the time. I don't know. This idea of thriving rather than just surviving.
Yes.
So victim to survivor to thriver. And so I started developing this workshop. Women like Adrienne started coming to the workshop, and they really began to relate to it and said, yeah, I want to do more than just survive. And how do we do that? So through the workshop, I started developing this material, and I started working at it in terms of steps. The first step, the second step, and I had an exercise for each step. And I started doing this for about 10 years or so, and I'm like, I have some material here that I could really, and I'm a writer, so I started putting it together into a book material, and really felt that if I could, because I have been doing the workshops for free in the Connecticut area, but I really wanted to get to other women.
Right.
And I thought a book might be a way to do that. So the idea that I'm helping women to not only survive, but thrive. And then really it became, they started defining it for me by their actions. Who was coming into the workshop, what their goals were. By the second day of the workshop, they put together a new goal for themselves, coming out of a more positive energy. And so I started to see, oh, this is what they're doing. This is what they're being motivated to do. And we have wonderful services for domestic violence victims and sexual assault victims in the state. They're focused on the crisis intervention. My niece never even identified as a victim, and it's so important to do that. So I felt that I could build on those really great services, not duplicate them, but really build on them. So the workshops really became that. And then I also wanted to stay in contact with the women, so I started doing monthly follow-up sessions.
Right.
And kind of support groups, but a little bit more goal-oriented. And then I started doing retreats, weekend retreats. In fact, Adrienne and I were just at a retreat last weekend. We were down at the Connecticut shore. So we've really been able to build a community of women who have begun to say, I'm not only surviving, I'm thriving. And they're beginning to do these things that, I always tell them, remember, when I met you, you were like a very different person than I see today, and you really have. So I always refer to this book as our book. It's because I do include the stories of some of the women. I do include the writings, because they're really the ones who are articulating what this journey has been for them,
right.
Not just me. I mean, I know my own journey, but I'm thriving when I'm with them and I'm working with them. So that's really my purpose. I now want to see them take that same momentum and motivation and see how it works in their lives.
Love it. Adrienne,
Yes.
how long have you been with Susan? I always see you with this nice, I love your smile. You
Thank
always
you.
have this nice smile. How
Thank
long
you.
have you been with her?
I took the workshop in November of 2012, And at that point, I had been divorced and, as I say, sleeping safe for probably 8 years. I really thought I had made it. I had a job, and you know, I had a wonderful career that I was making a lot of progress in, and I was president of my organization, and I was teaching, you know, my profession. And a friend of mine said, "Hey," she was a laughter yoga friend. That was one of the first healing modalities that I really fell into and loved it. And so she was a friend of mine from laughter, and she said, "You know, I took this workshop. You would love it. You really got to go. There's one next month." And I said, "Okay." You know, I like to do things that my friends suggest. And so I went to the workshop, and it was truly transformative. I realized I had come so far, but it just opened up a whole new world for me. It just was a whole new energy. I was surviving, but inside I was still very broken. I was very sad. I was isolated. The workshop, it was, you know, like we've been talking, it was truly life changing. Totally life changing. And since then, I have my life has changed dramatically. You know, like Susan says, you know, you don't look like the same person that I saw then, right?
Absolutely not.
No, I'm not. In 4 years, I've just I'm like shooting stars to the universe.
That's what I'm saying. You always have that nice,
I know,
especially sparkle, when I'm talking, that nice smile.
Yeah, when I'm talking about this subject, because actually meeting Susan and being part of the workshop has had such a profound effect on my life that it has become my purpose also. To help others.
Yes.
You know, reap the benefits and feel the way I feel. It just raises your energy, which is what it's all about.
Yes. Susan, about how many people would you say, or you think off the top of your head, have come through the program?
I have measured it probably in the hundreds. I have done this. I've done 4 workshops in each year, and I've been doing this for about the last almost 15 years. And a lot of the women, not all the women make it. Well, my standard is that if it's a 2-day session, it's 2 Saturdays, and if you come to both sessions, then you can graduate. We call it moving from the angel group to the archangel group into the monthly follow-ups and the retreats. So some women maybe make it to the first session. A lot of them, if they can't, they'll come back to another workshop. But I think right now we've got about 75 to 100 women who have been following me pretty much. So if it's a retreat or a monthly follow-up, or I'm having a book signing event for the book in October, that would be another time that people would get together. And people sort of come in and out a bit. You know, I won't see them for a couple of years or maybe a period of time, and then they're like, "Oh, I think now I'm going back to school and I need some support." So, or a lot of the women, like Adrienne, have become role models for the other women. So they can see, oh, you know, Adrienne's been out this number of years as a thriver. Look how she looks, so I can get there too. I mean, everybody's goal is very individual, but it's that energy of the group. And I think that's the other thing that we're doing, is building a community of women who are moving on and who've had an experience. And one of the things I'm very, very careful about and very clear about is you don't tell your story in this group. I don't even know half the people's stories. I make sure they're safe when they come in. If they're still, and I very rarely get women who are still in the relationships or have just come out of a sexual assault. If they are, then I refer them back to the crisis intervention, like Interval House and the sexual assault program. But most of the women, I don't really know their stories, and I don't think that's the place they have to tell the story.
Right.
Because it's really not about what happened to you. It's what are you going to make happen in your life going forward.
Yes.
And that's the story we want to hear, because we want to be inspired by that.
Yes.
You know, if Adrienne can do what she's done, hey, I can do my little thing over here.
Right.
You know, kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Now, there are a lot of books out there about women and abuse. Now, what's different about
Well, this
yours?
is a good book marketing question. So I'm so glad you asked that. So, this is a book about moving through the next part of the healing process. So although I do cover a bit in the book, because of my niece's situation where she didn't know all the warning signs, I do cover a little bit about that, and I try to help women understand that you may not even identify yourself so clearly as an abuse victim, running the list, but you may
Right.
have the impact of that on your life. So you do, you feel depressed, or you're not moving forward. And, even women who've come through my workshop who have a therapist, and I encourage that. But therapists don't always do visioning work. So my book's really about visioning yourself into the future. And so it's different than this is what abuse is, and this is what men or people who are abusive do. It's really about, okay, so you've had that experience. Let's talk about how we're going to move along. So it has writing exercises in it, and it allows you to begin to see there are pieces of your life that have been either left behind, or maybe if you were a person who's been abused as a child and an adult, you may have never felt these kind of more positive feelings.
Right.
The way I describe it to the women, the way I sort of set it up in the book, is that there's a part of you that's been untouched by all that's ever happened to you. And that's a kind of curious thought for some of these women. A part of me has been untouched by all that's happened to me, because they think that every part of them has been ruined by this experience or a series of experiences. And I sort of open them up to the idea that, no, there is a part of you that really is crying out to come back or to come forth in your life, and you haven't been in touch with that person. That part of you, we call it the happy person inside. But
Right,
the part of you
right.
that's really been, trounced down a bit and oppressed, but, the spirit, as any kind of spirituality, religious belief, is that the spirit cannot die.
Right.
That part of you cannot die.
Right.
But it's like a little flame flickering down to a little ember.
Yeah.
And so we kind of feed that.
we turn up the gas.
Yeah, turn up
Right.
the gas. It's like, oh,
And that's when you start to be a thriver, right?
Right.
When you
Yep.
start,
Right. And then you
it's that
start to
little flame.
define, what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
Am I going to go back to school? Am I going to, get a better job? Am I going to go travel? Whatever it is. And women, and in the book, I have a number of examples of the kind of goals that women have set for themselves. So this is a different kind of material. There is this material out there in some shape and form around spiritual development and spiritual journeys, but it's not directed towards women who've been abused. And I think that's a special population. They have special issues and special ways. They've been pretty, if you look at what an abuser does to a person, they bring you down. They destroy your self-esteem. It's a real kind of the ashes, or the phoenix rising from the ashes. So I fought very hard to keep this book very specific to abuse experiences. It could apply to other kinds of experiences like addiction or illness or cancer, but this particular book I really tried to keep it in that vein, because I want the women to really feel like it speaks to them.
Right, right. I was reading some of it, and you were even explaining what is considered a healthy. I think some people have been in things so long they don't even know what a healthy relationship should be like.
Right.
And I know you were describing that in your book.
Right. And I think that's, and I've had women who've come through the workshop and come into the community and have done really well and have either married or remarried, and they're in wonderful relationships. It's almost like they attracted this other person who's now complete, and for them it was the first time that they really were in that relationship. And so they started to raise their standards. They started to understand that no one's going to come and take away this way I feel about thriving. And I have some women who've been kind of concerned, like, well, do you think if I meet somebody, and you think I'll know if they're abuser, if they're being abusive? And then the next thing I know is I get a call from them. I met this guy, and the first thing he did was, and that was it. I'm done.
They know the warning signs.
It was like boom, 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 and it wasn't because it's coming from inside you. It's not just like on a piece of paper. But I don't want anybody to destroy the way I feel about myself, which is really positive and confident. And it becomes like the gold standard for women. Yeah.
And we've been talking about thriver, and you have a definition for
I
thriver.
do, and I call it my working definition,
Right.
Because I think that women, like I said before, this is for them to make up, but this is the one I have in the book. So, and I'm going to read my book. So, a thriver is a happy, self-confident, and productive individual who believes she has a prosperous life ahead of her. She's primed to follow her dreams, go back to school, find a new job, start her own business, or write her story. She believes in herself and in her future so much that she will not return to an abusive relationship. She speaks knowledgeably and confidently about her experiences and is not stuck in her anger or need for revenge. Living well is her best revenge.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And that's that avenging angel. That's that whole concept that you can design your revenge, but it really is your own purpose and power that you're moving forward into your life in a very unique and special way.
Mm-hmm. And Adrian, I can definitely describe you as a thriver. You
A
can describe,
thriver.
oh, most definitely.
Definitely.
Yes.
I'm thriving all the time.
Yeah. I had a question down here. How did the workshops help you? But I think you kind of
Oh, okay.
told us, but you could give me some more.
Or even the retreats. Tell
The
me about
retreat.
a
All
little
right.
bit.
The retreats are when we get together, like a tribe,
Mm-hmm.
and we just raise our energy and we commune together, and we, one thing with thriving, surviving abuse, and healing from trauma and abuse, according to Peter Levine, cannot be done alone.
Mm-hmm.
You need the group is just so important.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, after taking Susan's workshop, the first goal I had was to create a business. So I created a business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an energy healer. I already had one certification. I've gotten many others.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet somebody in the group that plants a seed. I was making bracelets a couple of years ago and selling them with healing crystals because I was studying that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody in the group wanted to buy one of my bracelets, so I brought it to her work. And we sat and had a cup of coffee, and she got a master's degree. And that planted a seed in my head. And as I was driving home and over the next month, I'm like, you know what? I could get a master's degree. I could do that too. She did that. I could do that. So I did that. And I just graduated. I got a master's degree in
Wow.
integrative health and healing.
Oh my goodness! Wonderful.
Just graduated.
Wonderful.
I left the
Wonderful.
allopathic world because I came from the medical world. I was a certified professional coder. I worked for a surgeon, and I eventually left that world behind, and now I'm like a holistic healer. I'm a master instructor of integrated energy therapy, which is, energy healing, where you don't have to relive your story, but you can release the blocks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm a laughter yoga leader.
Mm-hmm.
I have extensive knowledge, self-study, and everything about angels and the angelic realm. I'm a medicinal aromatherapist. I mean, I'm a highly motivated self-learner, and I had all these things. Plus, my degree program, we studied very intensely holistic and other the ways that other people heal themselves around the world. Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of energy healing, things like that. So all these things happened after I took Susan's workshop. So we're combining all of those things into
Yes.
4 years.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying, when I made a friend and when I first went to school, we had a wonderful cohort. She was like, she was so amazed at me. She's like, you are just soaring and soaring. And my best friend of 27 years would just always by my side, my cheerleader. You're soaring, because she knew what I had been through.
I've been through, yes.
So yeah, it's just been fabulous, and I starting to realize, because Susan points it out, that other people look at me and see me as a role model, and that just fills me with so much joy, because I was, not feeling that for a long time.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm so pleased to have with me, joining me on the second half, Sophia Taylor Edwards. Hi, Sophia. Thank you. I was so happy to see you come through the door. So, welcome, welcome. I have a couple questions for you. How did you find Susan's workshop?
Actually, I found Susan's workshop after I had, I call it life traumatic experience in my home, which was domestic violence. And I went to a group, a support group at the Interval House. And while I was there, I saw a brochure, a flyer on the bulletin board that described a group that workshop that Susan was gonna be hosting. I think it was gonna be like that same. I went the Tuesday and it was gonna be that Saturday. And I called the next day and I registered, and the rest is history. I went to the group and it was just a phenomenal. I remember going to walking into the room, and I was on crutches and I had a brace around my neck, and and Susan realized and noticed that someone was coming into the room, was entering the room, and she was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Sophia." She said, "I can't hear," and I was like, "Sophia," and my voice started to I was trying to project my voice, but at that time, with what I was experiencing, wasn't really feeling good, and it was almost like the shame of okay, knowing that domestic violence brought me here, because I never thought that I would be in a position such as that.
Yes,
and and so I went to the group, and like I said, I participated in 2 consecutive weekends of the group, and the rest is the history. I mean, I think one thing what I have definitely learned from the group is that to know who I am, to have a voice, and to speak up for what I stand for and what I believe in. And when I say that, for what I believe in, is that I am West Indian, I am Jamaican, and culturally, it's that is not. I felt like it was not really acceptable to say the word domestic violence, and I feel like it's something that's minimized. So for me, calling it domestic violence, it was something that was not the norm of my culture. And so by me saying domestic violence, I feel like that gave me a voice to call it what it is, and that I feel like that would help me to change and break the cycle of the accepting unhealthy behaviors in our culture, such as that silent violence, domestic violence.
yes, yes.
So one of the things that Sophia has taught me is that not only that you find your voice again, because her voice was so tiny that I kept asking her, "Could you say that again? Say that again?" But also the idea about power, really coming back into your power. And the last retreat we did just last weekend down on the Connecticut shore, we were really working with that idea of power. In fact, we did some bracelets. I call them our power bracelets, thriver bracelets, and we got different stones that represent different kind of energy. And we were really talking about if you have these 7 steps, and each stone represents a step that gives you this energy, how does all that power come together, and what do you do with that power? And for an abuser, the last thing that he wants is for you to get your power, because that means that you're saying, "I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
You can't control me." And so it's that moment when you really start to say, "This is what I need," and not just to leave, but then to regain yourself again. And so we were really working on that. So I was having women write once again, and we did this. Sophia's been in my group about 12 years now, I think. She's one of our major role models here. So people can see what that progress has looked like. But also that I asked them to write "I'm a woman of power" statements. And one of the things that Sophia you wrote this a number of years ago, that every time she reads it publicly, or we're in a situation where Sophia can read it, it's like, "Oh, can Sophia read that, please? We love it so much," So sure enough, last Saturday, or it was Saturday, I think it was, I said to Sophie, and they were like, it wasn't just me. It's like, oh, can Sophia read her piece? So it's in the book, and so I invited Sophia not only to come and tell her story about the workshop, but also come and read it for your audience tonight, because I think it's not only you'll hear her voice, but you'll hear the power that's behind it. So, yes, can you do that?
Sure.
I remember the first time I heard it, I was so touched by it.
That's right.
I am a woman of power who has made a positive impact on the world. You see, through my own healing, wellness, and creativity, I am a woman of power who has integrity and always believe in doing the right thing. Even when it's challenging, it exposes my true character when no one sees me but God. But you see that I am a woman of power who is embarked upon this earth to make a difference in other women's life, to inspire, to achieve their greatest level of humanity, to cultivate the world with love. But you see, today, I celebrate my life by being true to myself, being open to others, and being filled with positive energy. Oh, you see, this transformation has brought out the best in me, taught me self-love, and like a flower bud, allow me to blossom into a beautiful rose. Today, I celebrate my life, which resemble the ever-changing four seasons. You see, from fall to winter, from winter to spring, and from spring to summer, secure that I can go forward with confidence and without fear of anything. See, today, I celebrate Sophia because I am a woman of power.
I would never, ever get tired of hearing that speech. It's just beautiful. It's just touching. Oh my goodness. And you say it with such like confidence.
Thank you
such
so
a
much.
smile on your face. Just like when Adrienne was on, I was saying that she has that sparkle and you have that smile. And Susan, you know what I'm saying? It's because of you that
Well, let me put it this way.
Well,
I am not the hero of the story. These guys are the hero
yes,
of the story.
they are. But you are the one who pulled the heroes together.
Yes, and I think sometimes I feel like Susan does not like to take the credit, but
right, exactly.
it is a process, and you know, I think of it. The process is that someone put dirt on it. We start with dirt, and we have to tilt the ground, the soil.
Exactly.
And Susan is helping us to tilt it, and the different activities that we have. Those are the different elements that's poured up on that soil to help us to grow and help us to thrive. So I just think that, you know, Susan, you have given up a lot, and you have helped us to thrive. And you know, I know out of good came bad, and so for you, you are a part of the success story of us. We don't own that on our own. You are a part of it, and we're forever forever grateful, because if you weren't there, we would not be here today.
You're gonna make me cry. Well, it's true. It is the gift, you know, and my family, we talk about this a lot with my niece. She was a very gifted young woman, and so we lost that gift. But I think it's been the opportunity to see something not only good, but that there is purpose in life. There's hope in life. There are dreams. You know, I ask the women to bring out their dreams, and they do it. And I think not only because of me, but because the whole community. And one of the things that I survey in the very beginning, I asked the women to tell me, you know, and they sort of how their attitude might change because of the workshop. And one of the questions I ask is, you know, do you feel that there's a group of that anybody out there really understands your experience and they're moving on to find a new life? And the answer usually is no when they first walk into the workshop, because they feel like, first of all, there are not a lot of people who understand their experience, and secondly, a lot of people get stuck in their anger. And it makes sense, but you can't live like that your whole life. The same way that I can't live in my anger about what happened to my niece. You know, I can miss her, and I can wonder what she'd be like if she was still with us, but that's just not something that is gonna feed me or keep me in get me to a good place. So I really feel like the gift I got from all of this is that I found my purpose in life. I found what I'm supposed to do. I always wanted to write books. I always felt like I didn't have anything to write about. And now this book is actually the first of 3 books that I'm putting together. And the second one's going to be called Staying in the Thriver Zone, and the next one's going to be called Living in the Thrive Zone. And the other thing that I'm doing next spring, and maybe I'll come back and talk about it on your show, is that I'm putting out my first novel, which was a dream of mine since I was a little girl. And the novel is loosely based on my niece's story. So it was really a way for me in writing it to really transform that story into a different place. So this is, it took me many years to find this work. But I said this in the beginning to you, Therese, I didn't know why I was doing this work before. I mean, it was sort of like I prepared me for this moment. And I really did have that feeling when Maggie died, as horrible as it was, and as terrifying as it was as to what it all meant. Part of me was like, hey, now I know what everything came to that moment.
Yes.
Everything that I learned about domestic violence and sexual assault in kind of this vacuum world as an attorney suddenly came to that moment. So when people like Sophia came to me and said, I've been abused and this is what happened to me, or I'm in court, I knew that experience, and then I could take it to the next level. But I think the spirituality of this work is what's really exciting. That really to see women's spirits really get revived and move to a different level, and then we all sort of just lift each other up.
Yes.
And that's really the feeling of the retreats. Is we have a weekend on the shore that's so wonderful, and we're all just. I mean, you saw it, Sophia, even on the weekend. People's faces, even in that short period of time, change, and that's my gift. I get to see people transform before my eyes.
Yes.
I mean, what else could you ask for in life beside that?
Yes.
And you've seen it. You've seen the transformation. So, and I get to see it over a little longer period of time. And I also get to see their children. I've watched Sophia's daughter grow up into this wonderful young woman, and this because they're also on a journey. And that's been imposed upon them by circumstances that are beyond their control. But they're also going to pick up. And I've seen families really blossom because of the work their mom has done to really start to move into a different space. And kids are happy when their mom is happy. So
Right, exactly,
so
exactly,
it's really good.
exactly.
So
And you can try to make all of us cry.
I know.
Yes.
And I know you don't like. I know you don't like the accolades or attention or whatever. But I'm on the board of directors.
So let's
and
explain that.
I see when I come to the meetings, I see the drive that you have, because you want women to be able to come, and you don't want them to have to pay money, and you're trying to raise money or whatever so that they can get gas cards or food cards, or when we have a holiday party, you want to make sure all of their children get gifts, and then they get pampered, something that they never maybe experienced before. And it's a wonderful thing.
Right.
So I mean, you take a little bit of credit. Take a little bit of credit.
But I will say that the nonprofit that we're talking about, CT Alive, and I helped form that because I really felt strongly this is not a luxury item. I didn't want to charge $1,000 or whatever you charge for a 2-weekend workshop, because I knew this is not something women would be able to choose, and that if they needed to get to the place and they didn't have gas in the car, and that's an obstacle for them to thrive. So I think it's really trying to think about all the ways that the services that people have available really help them move along, not just stay in one place. So and we have a great holiday party every year because it's a difficult time of the year for women who face these kinds of things and their children. So we sort of have this at the beginning of the season, just opening up the whole idea of this is a time that you can feel joy again, and you can feel good. So people like you have been really supportive, and I think that a lot of people who've come to work with me either in the workshops or the nonprofit realize this is really a missing piece.
Yes.
And I've met a number of women over the years, particularly when I've gone to like fairs or places where I've talked about my work or given out flyers, and they say to me, "Oh, I wish this was here 20 years ago because I was a victim 20 years ago, and I got myself to thriving, but I had to do it all by myself." And so it's really, and then they come in to our clothing drive or something, and I have a number of people like that who come regularly just because they want to support that effort.
And we have a clothing drive coming up on
October 15th and the 22nd. Yep.
Right. And where is it going to be?
It's going to be at the Price Rate Plaza in West Hartford, right on the edge of Hartford. Yep. From 9 to 1. It's up on the website, ct-alive.org.
New Britain Avenue, on New Britain Avenue in West Hartford.
Yes, thank you.
New Britain Avenue. I didn't get through half my questions because I was enjoying talking so much. I don't even think we need it. We didn't really need this. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I appreciate you, Susan. I appreciate you coming on. I was so excited when I saw you come in. I appreciate you, Adrian, although you're not on the set right now. But I appreciate you guys coming. And I'm praying and hoping that this video could be shared, and that a lot of women will see it. They will be touched. They would realize that there's somebody out there that cares, somebody that's out there that they can get help, and that they too can become a thriver.
So I have workshops coming up. I have, actually, this weekend I do 2 in the fall and 2 in the winter spring. So those are up on the website, and information about my book is there. Like I said in the beginning, I wanted the book to get the material out to a broader audience. So if you know somebody who's not in the Connecticut area, or even if they are, it's a way to experience some of the exercises from the workshop. And it's a workbook kind of. You can fill it out. You can do it yourself. You can do it with another person. And I just want to get the material out as far as I can get it. So thank you for inviting us. And
I was so. You know how long I've been trying.
I know
how long I've been trying to do this. So
you said this day you're coming. This is what you're doing.
I'm hoping this is not the last time, because I'm sure there's a lot more stories, a lot more stories of progress.
If you want me to bring thrivers on a regular basis, these are 2 of my prime ones, but there's a lot of other women who've just
hopefully we can
and some are not as able to identify themselves publicly. Because they're still in litigation and divorces or whatever. But yeah, and I'm so proud of both Adrian and Sophia, because they've not only been able to articulate this and show themselves to the group, but also to the public. I think it's really important for people to know that there are women who've come through abuse everywhere.
Yes.
And that when you are a thriver, you need to show that. This is the same way that Oprah has done over the years as a survivor of child sexual assault, that she has shown what somebody can do who surpasses that and transforms her life. So we have a lot of women like that out there. And the more I can get them to show their face, because it becomes like, oh, she looks really like a normal person, or she looks like she's really thriving. I didn't realize she had come through that whole experience.
Right, exactly.
And that's a great role model.
And I think also, too, the fact that we're very open about our life experience, and that others, because of that, I've been able to help other women that are struggling with or are living in silence, and that I can be able to say that to help them, and so many that you would have never thought that was experiencing domestic violence, but once I was able to publicly disclose that I have experienced domestic violence and I left my marriage for that reason, that they were able to, secretly say that I too is experiencing domestic violence. And I will often say to people that unhealthy can no longer become the norm.
Right.
And that for me, it's my spirituality that helped me through this journey, because life is a journey. It's not a destination. It is a journey. And I had the opportunity to build, to turn one of my room into a prayer room. And it was prayer that brought me to where I am at. And because I know that God is a healing God, and He can heal your body, mind, and spirit, that I can go back and help someone else. There's there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about the older woman shall help to help the younger woman. And I feel like I may not be that old, but my life experience can help me to go back and tell somebody to come back and go out and reach for another woman. No woman get left behind, and be able to help the other woman to be able to know that you don't have to bear this in secret. You don't have to bear it alone. You don't have to be isolated. And I feel like God has made us to shine. And sometimes when we go through these life experiences, it can somewhat make us become dull or live in a dark hole. But I come here to say that I am thriving. I am in the light. And I am a survivor, and that I am a thriver. And I thank Susan for helping me in that process for me to grow. And I am planning to continue to speak out publicly about it. No more silence, and no more sisters get left behind.
All right. That's what I'm talking
And
about.
Sophia will be at my book signing event, which is October 18th, which actually is the anniversary of Maggie's death. So I always try in October to celebrate her. And also that at that event, Vanessa Stevens, who Teresa knows also, who's a singer-songwriter, who wasn't singing when I met her because of the abuse, and now she's singing again.
So she's going to be at the event.
Yeah, she's going to come and sing. So yeah, we're going to have one of those.
That's going to be in West Hartford Senior
at the
Center?
Senior Center in Bishop's Corner. Yep, 6 to 8. It's free event, and I have books there to sell and also sign. And because Sophia's in the book, she's also been signing the book. People have been asking her, "Oh, can you sign my book?"
Sign my book too.
Yeah. So she's got her page that she signs.
Wonderful.
It's a wonderful life.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful life. Rich life.
Yes.
It's a wonderfully rich life.
Yes.
It's a thriving life. What can I say about it?
Right. So I thank you ladies again for coming. I really appreciate it. And I know that, like I said, I know many people are going to be touched by the stories and everything. So thank you again. And thank you, audience, for watching Diversity in the Community. And we'll be bringing you some more exciting stuff, because I know Susan said that maybe they can bring people on again. So we'll get to see them again and hear the stories, positive stories, to help somebody else. So thank you, and have a good evening.